Hello, everybody, and welcome to another adventure in history. I'm your host, Shane McInnes, and it's a Thursday night, so that means it's time for history. Welcome to the show. Hope everybody's had a good week so far. It has been a very restful, very peaceful, very relaxing week for me. I have pretty much not done anything of consequence. This is my first official week of summer break, and I have been a lazy lump. Good morning again. Welcome, Figment. How are you? So I've been pretty lazy. I have read comic books and watched anime and watched some comedy specials that I had missed throughout the course of the year. I've read some. I have, I said that I read comic books, but I've read like books as well. Played some video games, just hung out. I've been able to see some friends that I have not seen in more than a year. That was delightful. I'm very glad that I got to reconnect with some of my friends since we have all been vaccinated. So it has been a good week, and one where I have been able to let a lot of the pressure from last year go, which has been a very welcome sense of relief. My mic might not be working. Well, it says that it's working. Can anyone out there hear me? Well, maybe not, like, it's not you, but... Oh, yes. Lies. Hey, Techman, welcome. And hey, Cave, how's it going, my friend? Welcome. All right, so yeah, I'm in good spirits. I feel pretty good. I've been sleeping well. The world is revolving in a orderly fashion, and things are looking up. So it's time for another adventure. So for those of you that might be new or first-timers to the show is Adventures in History, and we talk about historical stuff, but we do it in a very laid-back way, and we have fun, and we goof off, and we make bad jokes, because history doesn't have to be super boring or lame or cruddy. Hey, Angel, welcome. Angel of the massive top hat. You cannot help but note that when you're feeling good and things are looking up, you're not at work for a week. There might be a correlation there. It was muted, and you don't know how because technology hates you. Technology hates us all, and it's slowly taking us over. We just haven't paid enough attention to the sci-fi movies yet. So... So, yeah, we talk about history. On Thursday nights, we are covering history chronologically. We do this in phases because it's too hard to cover every single year one at a time. We would basically never get anywhere. So we have chunked up time into sections. We are currently in a phase that's covering the first century of AD or CE, whichever one you want to call it. So from the year 1 to the year 100. And we have been moving across the world. We started off over in China. We did some stuff in Central Asia. We did some stuff in Persia and Armenia last week. And now we have arrived once again at the Roman Empire. I'm the first to die in the apocalypse. You've come to terms with it. Oh, Figment. Here's a fun little side thing that has nothing to do with the actual the show, but my thesis advisor, and who is one of my good friends and is a very good historian, He and I have known each other now for probably 20 years or so. A little bit less than 20 years. But at one point, when I was much younger and much less mature, he accused me of being apocalyptic cannon fodder. Because I would be the one that would run at the apocalypse, whatever was causing the apocalypse, and try to stop it because it was just so unjust. So Figment knows who that is, by the way. So Figment, that was Dr. N, and I won't say his name because I don't want to necessarily call everybody's name out. But yeah, apocalyptic cannon fodder. Sounds like you. And I heard that in his voice. That's even better. So for those of you that don't know, Figment and I were in grad school together. We finished our masters at the same time and took a couple of classes together. So lots of good stories from small town Mississippi. Cassidy, hey, welcome. Good to see you. Hello, hello. You made it. And we're talking about Italy, so maybe that's part of the overlapping Venn diagram. I just have to talk about Italy every time. Apocalyptic Cannon Fodder would be a good punk band name. I would totally play an Apocalyptic Cannon Fodder. And we would cover like all of the old, like first wave British punk stuff. Oh yeah, good times. So tonight we're talking about the Roman Empire. The last time we talked about the Roman Empire, this guy named Caesar Augustus took over and basically turned Rome from a republic and into an empire. And we'll actually pick up with him. We won't talk about him too terribly much tonight. If you're interested in Augustus, we actually did an entire stream on him back in the last phase. So you can go check that out if you want to. If anybody has any questions or comments off the top, we can go ahead and take those. Otherwise, we can just kind of roll right on into the talk. As always, please feel free to ask questions. If you have anything that strikes you as, hey, that's interesting, I wonder if, just go ahead and throw it in there. I mean, this is not a lecture. We are all here having a conversation with each other. It is not school. You don't have to raise your hand. I don't give out gold stars. I guess I do give out gold stars, but they're not actually gold stars. They're just bragging rights. So anyway, So this guy Augustus was really, really important. Augustus became the first emperor of Rome, did a whole bunch of reform stuff. Again, we will not go over the entire span of history under Augustus. However, I will show you Augustus because, I also get to wear the adventure hat an awful lot tonight. So, for those of you that do not know, this is the adventure hat, and it is the subject of what was our very first emote, the adventure hat. And I wear this when I go out to do field stuff because I am incredibly pale and I sunburn like something that sunburns really, really bad, like somebody of mixed Nordic and Irish heritage. So there you go. Hey, Capacitor, welcome. Good to see you. Yeah, man, absolutely. I go like blood red, lose 9 layers of skin, and then go right back to the pasty goodness that you see in front of you right here. I do not tan. So I wear this when I talk about a place that I have been, or I show you a picture of something that I have seen. And there's going to be a lot of adventure hatting. I've actually got several of my own photos in the mix tonight because I've been to Rome a few times and I've been around Italy quite a bit. So this is, of course, going to overlap a lot. So here we go. First off, let's look at Augustus. And I've chosen this particular picture on purpose because what we see here is Augustus decked out to look like Jupiter. Jupiter was the king of the gods in the Roman world, and wearing the toga the way that he is, and with his big staff here and holding the orb signifying power over the world. This is Augustus, and he really was probably he was either the second or first most powerful individual on the face of the earth during his reign. The only person that would have come close would have been the emperors of China during that period of time. But this guy's super powerful. And you can go see that statue yourself if you want to. But Augustus had done a lot. We talked a lot about his reform stuff last time, very, very briefly. He does a lot of military reform. He does a lot of political reform. He does religious reform, economic reform. But he also conquers a lot of stuff. He's a military guy. And a lot of these Roman emperors are going to feel like they also have to be military guys because of what Augustus did. So one of the things that Augustus is really sort of important for, not just all of the reforms and all the things that he did, but because he was the first emperor, he set an awful lot of precedent. And this is going to be something that basically every emperor for probably the next 200 years or so is going to have to sort of measure up against. Like, are we as good as Augustus? Did we earn it like Augustus did? Did we do all of the things that Augustus did, and how did we stack up to his accomplishments, etc., etc.? But it's hard to kind of stack up to what Augustus did. He is going to be responsible for one of the most successful expansions of the Roman Empire in one person's lifetime, and he is going to bring just an incredible amount of money into the empire. So if we look at the map here that I've got, and we look at the dark green areas, these are going to be areas that he added into the Roman Empire. So we get this northern Spain region, which had been a lot of trouble for the Romans for quite some time. The last little bit of the Alpine region here, but most specifically, and the biggest one, is Egypt. He is going to bring Egypt and a large portion of northern Africa firmly into the realm of the Romans, and then add also quite a bit of territory over here in Asia Minor. So this guy he's adding a whole bunch of stuff in, and what comes with Egypt is not just land, it's also population, it's also money, and it's also food supply. One of the things that is sort of notable to mention is that the city of Rome had grown too big to rely on Italian farms. So they were actually having to import a lot of food, tons and tons and tons of grain from all over the empire. And of course, we all know that Egypt is sort of the breadbasket of the ancient world. And this is going to be a really big deal. So Augustus has a lot of impact. Again, if you want to know more about him and how he got to that position, you're welcome to go back and watch the VODs on him. But we really want to look specifically here at his later life. He rules, by the way, from... Oh, and I guess I should type Augustus, you dum-dum. He rules from 27 BC, or BCE, whatever you want to use, to 14 AD. And by the time that he's in around the 10 AD point, he was in his early 70s, or mid 70s, and that was really old for the ancient world. And again, I want to disprove this myth that everybody died at 40. People didn't die at 40. What happens is the reason that the ancient world's life expectancy is so low is because so many people died as children. The infant mortality rate was astronomically higher than it is in today's world. If you made it to 5 or so, you were usually okay, and you would live till a natural lifespan in most circumstances. Now, they clearly did not live as long as we do because we today have better medicine. But if you had taken a person from that period of time and raised them in our world, they would have had the same lifespan. They did not have some sort of dramatically different life expectancy. There is just a lot of stuff that could kill you. Today we have Neosporin. Back then, you get a cut on your leg and that's your end. And that's just kind of what happens, unfortunately. But Augustus was getting fairly old, and for the majority of the latter part of his career, when the military campaigns were done and when he was just sort of focusing on ruling and establishing and reforming, hey, no bad, welcome. He's got to figure out who's going to take over. And there's a big question mark here. Like, who gets to take over when Augustus dies? Who gets to decide who takes over after Augustus dies? And Augustus is very much of the idea that whomever was his actual heir needed to earn it, right? They needed to be somebody that had done the work, that had put in the time, that had sort of moved through the right procedure like Augustus had done. And he does have quite a few potential heirs. One of them was a really good friend of his that was a military advisor, sort of the head of his military. However, that guy's going to die. He also, and Augustus does have children. He was married, he has children, but he never really has any sons that are going to make it. He has several kids that end up dying really young, but he does have several daughters. And that means that he has grandsons. And for a little while, he had been sort of grooming two of his grandsons to potentially take over. And then they both died. A kid, they weren't really kids. They were in their 20s. Gaius and Lucius were their names. They're going to end up dying. And this is going to leave Augustus with a bit of a pickle. Like, who gets to be the heir? And he's going to end up adopting this kid named Tiberius. And Tiberius was not necessarily his first choice. There was this other guy that was his nephew, Augustus's nephew, a guy named Germanicus, and we'll talk about him a little bit more in a bit, that he ends up adopting as well. So Augustus has now two heirs. And when he dies, he sort of... It's messy. Like, he understood that Tiberius, who was older at that point, Tiberius, by the way, is going to end up being the second emperor, but he was 55 when he became emperor. Augustus treated Tiberius really badly. So when Tiberius became the sort of heir apparent and got adopted, Augustus basically took over Tiberius's life. He told him who he could marry. He did not get to marry the woman that he was in love with. Tiberius didn't. And I can show you Tiberius. And I can put the adventure hat back on because this is one of my photos. Tiberius. Here we are. Now, this is, of course, him as Caesar. But he's a pretty cool guy, at least at the beginning. He has an interesting life. We'll talk more about Tiberius as we go on here. So, so Augustus is going to basically dominate his life. He's not going to let him marry who he wants to. He marries him to this woman that is a political arrangement, and... Well, let's just say that Tiberius is not particularly fond of the way that that his wife acts. His wife very frequently has extramarital affairs and does so very, very publicly. She does not seem to care very much for Tiberius himself. She didn't really want to be married to him anyway. Again, this was a political arrangement. So Tiberius has to sort of endure the public shaming of his wife running around. This was a really big deal in the Roman world. There was something in the Roman world called dignitas. It's the word where we get dignity from. And this was a little bit more of a public thing where your public dignity and your public bearing was very important. And you needed to act a certain way, and you wanted people to think of you in a certain way. And this was a really big sort of slap in the face to Tiberius's dignitas. Augustus pretty much let him know that he really wasn't necessarily the first choice of being emperor. Like, hey, I'm going to adopt you, but I would really prefer my nephew Germanicus to be in charge. The thing was, Germanicus was rather young at the moment. So when it comes down to who gets the good commands and who gets the good jobs, Tiberius always sort of gets the short end of the stick. Tiberius also ends up kind of getting the bad positions. You know, like if there's going to be a really good political office that opens up, it almost always goes to Germanicus or some other person that Augustus is trying to suck up to, and Tiberius sort of gets the leftovers. So about 6 AD, Tiberius is going to basically say, I quit. Like, I'm done. And Tiberius goes over to the island of Rhodes, which is over here in the Mediterranean. This guy right here. And he basically tries to retire. Like, he tries to quit public life. He's like, look, I'm done. I'm done of being the butt of the joke. I don't like this. I want to just be left alone. Leave me alone. Augustus does not take that lightly, and Augustus is not going to let him just retire. There are several rather terse exchanges of letters. Augustus tries to sort of give him jobs, like, oh, you're the heir, you've got to go do this. And Tiberius is like, no. But in 10 AD, Augustus is basically going to put his foot down and say, look, you're either going to go up to the region of Germany, over in here where there had been some Germanic tribal invasions along the border. You're either going to go up here or you are completely cut off. I am taking away all of your money. I am taking away all of your status. I'm going to basically kick you out of the family. I'm going to put you in exile and you're going to die poor. And you're going to go take this army up there. You're going to lead this army or you're done. And so Tiberius rather reluctantly goes up to Gaul over here first, and then over into the Germania region to fight against some barbarians, and does really well. By all accounts, he is successful in pushing back the particular tribes that are causing trouble, and even gets a triumph. He gets to go to Rome, and he sort of gets to have a parade that was just all about him. Now, the campaign in Germany took 2 years, so this is from 10 to 12. And when he gets back to Rome, this is around the end of 12 or the beginning of 13 AD, and he meets with Augustus, and he could tell basically, like, Augustus is almost dead. Like, at this point, Augustus was 77, which is really, really old for the ancient world. And, I mean, no spring chicken, even in our world today. It's beyond the life expectancy of most countries on Earth today. So, we don't know exactly what happened. The historians say that they had a day where they both went into a room and they were completely uninterrupted. And apparently they hashed all of their differences out, and they put everything to bed. And at the end of this day where they talked everything, Tiberius came out and accepted very formally his status as heir of the throne. And it was not too long after that, in 14, that Augustus did in fact die. And so Tiberius becomes the emperor. And so Tiberius is going to rule from 14 to 37. So he takes over as emperor, and he doesn't really like it. It's a horrible job. Everybody's constantly bugging him. He has all of these, constant drains on his attention. Everybody always wants him to, like, weigh in on all of the little ideas. And this is, again, part of the way that Augustus had run things. Augustus was very much a hands-on guy. He was involved in everything. Yeah, surprise, surprise. I didn't want it. You talked me into it. I took it. I hate it. So, basically, Tiberius is going to take ruling very, very light-handedly. He's going to start taking really long excursions. He's like, I'm going to go tour. Like, oh, this is great. You're going to go look around, and you're going to, go out to the provinces, and you're going to see stuff, and you're going to whip them into shape, and you're going to make sure that they're running. And he's like, no, I'm going to go to some big, nice houses, and I'm just going to hang out for a few months. And they're like, that's not really touring, that's vacation. He's like, I'm the emperor. It's called touring. And he starts, like, really slowly just kind of giving up a lot of the power. Now, he still has all of the authority, but the Senate even has to sort of push some of the titles on him. And, like Augustus had all of these official titles that made him powerful, and they're like, we want to give you all of these titles. And he's like, dude, can we just, like, I don't want this title. I don't want to be father of the nation. I mean, I've got kids. I don't really like them either. Can we not do this? And they're like, you've got to take it. You're the emperor. And he's like, fine. Yeah, sidesteps out of frame to Capri. We're not quite there yet. That's the tail end when things go real bad. But yeah, so he starts taking these long excursions, and he's away from Rome a lot. He's up in the northern part of Italy hanging out at these big villas all the time. He has a lot of people that he's sort of entrusting to do a lot of his work for him, including Germanicus. And again, Germanicus was Augustus's nephew, and he had been adopted at the same time Tiberius had been adopted, but Germanicus was much younger. He was about 30 years younger than Tiberius was, or so. So this is Germanicus, a bust of Germanicus here. Handsome-looking guy. So Germanicus was also the heir of Augustus. So Tiberius is like, hey, I've got this great idea. Why don't you just do the thing? Like, you go do the thing. You wanted this, I didn't. You go do the emperor thing. And Germanicus is like, all right, fine. I mean, okay, cool. So Tiberius actually adopts Germanicus, which is weird, because when Augustus adopted them, that made them brothers. The Roman adoption is actually very permanent. It's a very real thing. So when you got adopted, you were considered part of the family, and your heirs were the blood of that family. And there were even little ceremonies where you got basically introduced to the household gods. Like, oh, so here are the gods of our family. Hey, gods of our family, this is our new family member. Take care of him too. And you were expected to follow all of the things that you would normally do in a family. So Germanicus and Tiberius were technically brothers, because when Augustus adopted them both, that made them brothers. But then when Tiberius becomes emperor, he goes, all right, I'm going to adopt you, and you're going to be my son. And Germanicus is like, all right, fine, do your thing. So Germanicus ends up with, like, being the kid, but also being the one that's pretty much in charge. And one of the things that happens is, hey, Martest, welcome. One of the things that happens is back up here in this Germany region, there were some troops up there that had not received their bonuses. Augustus had left a lot of money behind to sort of dole out to the troops to sort of keep the military on the side of the emperor. But a lot of that money had been misappropriated and had not gone towards where it needed to go. So there were some troops up in that region, in the Germany region, that decided to rebel. And one of the things that Germanicus gets sent to do is go up there and calm these troops down. Go do it. because I'm going to go on vacation. You go handle the problems. So Germanicus goes up and he meets with these troops. And Germanicus is a pretty affable guy. He gets up there, he talks to the soldiers, and they're like, "We want our money." And he's like, "Okay, so here's the deal, guys. Look, the emperor doesn't really have it. However, I'm in charge. So what if we went over into the Germany area where all these barbarians are, and we sack a bunch of their cities? And here's the deal: if you guys come with me, we'll go sack a bunch of these cities, and then whatever we take, I'll just let you guys keep that." And they're like, "Hey, that's actually not that bad of an idea. Something to do, barbarians to kill, cities to sack, loot, slaves. There we go." HQWKTTV, salut. I am not the best at French, but I'll give it a try. And Boom Tonic, thank you very much for that follow. Hope you're having a good one, and welcome to the adventure. So yeah, salut mon Paul. I don't know. I am very bad. I can read French so much better than I can speak it. I am not from the UK. I am from the States, from the southern part of the States. A place called Mississippi. So, they go loot, and Germanicus brings these soldiers over, and they win several very big victories. They do quite well for themselves. They bring back quite a bit of loot to Rome, and Germanicus is looking pretty good. He's, like I said, he's a smart guy. He is very well liked. Now he's got some, military credit to his name. Things are looking up. So what does Tiberius do? Well, Germanicus gets back to Rome, and people really start going, maybe this Germanicus guy should be the emperor. Maybe we should get Germanicus to be the emperor. And Tiberius catches wind of this, and he's like, no, you go to the east. Go out to the east. Looks like you can't Twitch remotely. See in 10. Oh, Vern, that's cool. You're from Belgium. I would love to go to Belgium. I've not been there, but there are a lot of really neat places that I would like to go visit in Belgium. Welcome. Feel free to ask questions. If you have comments, you're welcome to share those as well. You can be as involved as you would like, or if you want to, you can just hang out. I'm in Bruges. That's awesome. One of the cities that I would like to go see. So Germanicus gets sent over here to the eastern provinces. And this is where the majority of the problems were for Romans. And at the time, the biggest one of those was over here in Armenia. If you'll remember from last week, or if you don't remember or don't know, if you weren't here last week, the Parthian Empire had tried to exert control over Armenia, but the Roman Empire wanted to hold on to Armenia, and Germanicus is going to be sort of the spear point of Roman authority in dealing with the Armenian region. But this actually goes too well for him, and you go, how does something go too well? Well, it turns out that he does a lot of really good work, and Rome is able to take over Armenia and basically dominate the kings of Armenia for decades. And Germanicus spends some time down here in Syria, and in 19 AD, Germanicus ends up dead. And it turns out that he was poisoned. And the particular individual that gets charged with this is a Roman governor named Piso. And all of this gets dragged all the way back to Rome. And there are these big trials. And Piso threatens the courts. He says, you do not want to put me on trial, because if you put me on trial, I am going to tell you everything that I know. And then it turns out that Piso dies very suddenly. And it said, oh, he committed suicide. And you go, this sounds very, very fishy. Because it is very fishy. And historians are not certain, but there is a very distinct possibility that Germanicus was getting way too popular, and Tiberius got Piso to kill Germanicus, and the reason Piso then died suddenly is because he was going to say, I was killing Germanicus because Tiberius told me to. Yeah, we all know what happens when witnesses that have the dirt on really powerful individuals suddenly die. We've lived through a lot of that rather recently, haven't we? We don't know what happened to Germanicus, other than he's dead in 19. After a string of big victories and a lot of glory brought to his name. So, after this point, around 20, Tiberius just decides, I'm done. I quit. And he is going to slowly but surely just retreat further and further into permanent holiday. And he does have a son. His son's name is Drusus. And he is going to give Drusus co-regency powers. Basically, he says, okay, my son will be my heir. He gets to do things now. I'm going to go over here and do my thing. So for a few years, Drusus is sort of the punt man, the point man. He's the one calling the shots. But then Drusus dies, and he died. It wasn't really a suspicious situation. But when Drusus dies, now Tiberius is even further in the hole, because that was his son. So what do you do? Well, who is left? The only guy left is this guy named Sejanus. Sejanus was the head of the Praetorian Guard. And the Praetorian Guard was basically the bodyguard of the emperor. It was a unit of soldiers, usually between 6,000 and 9,000, that were the peacekeeping force that ensured the safety of the Roman emperor. So Sejanus being the captain of that, of course, this guy has a lot of access to the emperor. He has a lot of daily contact with the emperor. And when Drusus dies, Sejanus is going to end up slowly but surely taking over. And this is when, Cassidy mentioned it earlier, Tiberius really just does decide to go on permanent vacation. And there's a little island off the coast. Let me put my borders and labels on. So there's Elba. That's where... this is where Napoleon was exiled. But this little island right here, Isola de Capraria, that's the Isle of Capri. And it was a very beautiful place, and there was a really big palace out there that had been sort of a resort, and I have a photo of that if I can get my photos to work. Here we are. This is the Villa Jovis, or the Palace of Jove, which is Jupiter. Like, by Jove! This is the remains of it today. It was a very big complex on this very beautiful island with an amazing view of the Mediterranean. And this is where Sejanus convinces Tiberius to go. Now, you might ask yourself, why would Sejanus want Tiberius out on this island, isolated? By the way, isolated is from the same word that we get island from. So he did this because Sejanus was the gatekeeper at that point. He read all of the messages going to Tiberius. He read all of the messages coming from Tiberius. This gave him complete control over the narrative of what the emperor believed was going on in the empire. And because the island was so far away from Rome, Sejanus basically gatekept everything. Bum-ba-dum, bum-ba-dum-dum. Would you pronounce your username Hawk? Or HQ? I don't know how I should address you. I want to make sure that I address you correctly. How would you say it, though? I don't want to give you a name. I would like to call you what you would like to be called. But that puts us very, very close. We are 10 away from our follower goal, where we will do a History of Middle-earth stream. So if you like the Lord of the Rings stuff that Tolkien wrote, I basically do a talk like this, but from the perspective of Tolkien's Middle-earth universe. So, all right. So Sejanus is gatekeeping, and Tiberius needs... Well, he needs something. He needs another... He needs an heir. He has to have somebody to take over in case something happens to him. So Drusus, his son, had a wife. Her name was Agrippina. And they had several sons. And Sejanus recognizes that Drusus's wife, or I guess widow at this point, and Drusus's children were the most likely heirs to the throne. So Sejanus is going to begin getting rid of his enemies or his obstacles, because Sejanus clearly wants to take over. So he convinces Tiberius that Agrippina and the oldest of the children are involved in this plot to usurp the power of the Roman Empire from Tiberius, that they were causing all of this trouble in Rome, and they were fomenting rebellion and arranging all of these plots and conspiracies with the Senate. And so Tiberius is like, oh, heck no. And so he throws his daughter-in-law and his own grandchildren into jail. And there's only one, the youngest of his grandchildren, this kid named Gaius, who is left. And Gaius is for a while going to be kept in basically protective custody, but it's going to be Tiberius's family that kind of get him out of this hole. Yeah, what a guy. Also, hey Hunk, what's going on? What was the widow's name again? Incontinus and Agrippina. Like the female version of Agrippa. Also, hey Joey. We should do all of the shout outs. We've got lots of good streamers in the channel. We should do all the shout outs. All right, so go check out the incredible Hunk, who is a delightful streamer. Never a boring time in Hunk's channel. Cassidy is an oil painter extraordinaire. Also has a lovely chair that you might ask her about. These are all inside jokes that you will get to experience when you go follow all of these lovely people. Visual Nomad, whose stream I almost always show up at the very last minute, who is also a painter, frequently does abstract art, Lots of really vibrant colors. Very beautiful work, though. You should go check out Visual Nomad. I feel like I'm forgetting people. Who am I forgetting? Angel. Angel, who gave us the good old raid the other day. Go follow Angel for your gaming needs. We've got Cave Geek in the room, who is an artist that does stuff that you probably haven't ever seen anybody do before. And that is drink liquor and read 50 Shades of Grey stuff in a Sean Connery accent. But he's also a great artist that uses traditional buckskin and pyrography to create three-dimensional maps and works of art on the buckskin, and then colors it with natural pigments and a bone. And it's a good stream. You should go check that out. Also plays video games later on at night. Have I missed anybody? I hope that I haven't missed anybody. You should go follow all of these people because they're just cool people. So anyway, Gaius is left as the last sort of standing grandson of Tiberius, and Tiberius is getting more and more and more isolated and crazy. The primary sources are not kind to Tiberius. As he grew later on in life, the historians of Rome began to accuse him of some rather unsavory sexual activity with children, some really weird practices. At one point, a peasant caught a large crab out of the Mediterranean and was very proud of this and wanted to bring it to the emperor and say, Emperor, here, I caught this. I wanted to give it to you because I feel like, I can't do very much. I'm a poor person, but here, I've caught this. I should give it to you. And then Tiberius had him beaten to death with the crab. Tiberius is not really stable at this point, but one of the sort of elder female or elder lady members of his family gets a secret letter to him that basically lays bare all of the plots of Sejanus. Sounds like a well-adjusted individual, yeah. And you thought your family was weird. Beating people to death with a crab and having small children swim around in the bath with him and nip at his toes like little fishes. Yeah, that's Tiberius for you. So, when he finds out that Sejanus was actually plotting and trying to get all of these things sort of behind the scenes, Tiberius sneaks an execution warrant out and basically says, find Sejanus, kill him, don't put him on trial, just go kill him. So Sejanus is dead, and this is actually a fairly dramatic moment because at this point, hey DJ, what's up? Things are not going the greatest for... Oh, and there's... Hey DJ, there's another DJ. So Ethan and then DJ. Okay. I'm going to have to... Yeah, okay. How's it go? Anyway, so Gaius is what's left. And Tiberius wants to keep an eyeball on this kid. So he actually brings Gaius out to the island. And sort of watches him like a hawk to make sure that this guy's not plotting anything. And what's really sad is that Gaius's mother... again, who's Tiberius's stepdaughter, is still in jail. Gaius's, other family members, his brother is still in jail. And his mother and his eldest brother starve to death in jail because Tiberius basically says, yeah, even though that whole plot thing was probably wrong, I'm still going to leave him there because I don't really like him anyway. And so Gaius has to be in the palace of the emperor while his family members are starving and dying in jail. And there's this story where Gaius actually walked into the room where Tiberius was holding a dagger, and Tiberius was just kind of like, what you gonna do? And then Gaius didn't go through with it, but Tiberius does eventually get sick, and the doctors, get brought out to the island, and everybody pretty much gets the idea like he's dead. Or not, he's not dead. I'm not dead yet, but he was going to die. He was fairly old. He had a really bad case of whatever he was dying with, and he was clearly sick to death. And so he calls Gaius in at this one point, and he has witnesses brought into the room, and he says, Tiberius, Emperor, will soon die. All of you look at Gaius, Emperor, who is my official heir. And at that point, Gaius was sort of the last one standing that had not either been killed or killed. So, yeah, Gaius was the next guy to be emperor. But then the fun stuff starts, because he didn't die immediately. There was apparently a period of time where these witnesses heard that Gaius was the next emperor, and Gaius actually, or Tiberius, dying. And a lot of the Roman sources from this period of time, by the way, there are several. There are Tacitus, who was a historian, another guy named Suetonius, and another guy a little bit later named Cassius Dio. These are all Roman historians that write about all of this period of time. Gotta love it when you fall butt backwards into greatness. Yeah, pretty much. But he was the emperor's grandson. So, he was a legitimate ruler, or he was a legitimate heir. He was just the last one left. He was not the one that would have likely been emperor. That should have been his father or his older brother, not the youngest of the young. So the story goes that Tiberius was having a bad day with this sickness and had called out for aid, and Gaius went to see him, and he said, like, no, don't, let's not bother him, don't bring in the nurses or the doctor. Let me just go check on him. Let me go see what's wrong with Granddad. And the story goes that Tiberius was weak to the point of death, but not actually dead. And he's like, I need to get up and make one more proclamation. I need to do one more thing before I die. Basically, he was trying to make his dying proclamation. And Gaius gathers up the bedclothes and just smothers him to death. Like, nope, Granddad. Nope, Granddad. Nope, the Emperor. Oh, he's when he was just about to give his final decree. The cold hand of death just reached down and plucked him from the mortal coil. Like, shut the heck up, Granddad. Would you just die already? So, yeah, the story is that Gaius didn't... Well, Tiberius was going to die, but then did actually just go ahead and finish him off. I can tell by the sour look on your face you're still the 11th in line for the throne, huh? Pretty much. But things are looking up for Gaius. I am slain! Oh! All right. So, with Tiberius dead, we now have Gaius as emperor. And you go, wait, I don't remember an emperor named Gaius. Well, you probably know him by his nickname, but I want to explain where his nickname comes from first. So, to do that, and I should show you a picture of this guy. Here is Gaius. Vern, you're killing me with the Ma'amul. You're killing me. Do you want the vengeful ghost of an emperor? Because that's how you get the vengeful ghost of an emperor. Correct. You smother him when he's just about dead. Vengeance is mine. Well, let's remember that Gaius' mother and family members were killed because Tiberius was a jerk. You've played Daggerfall. Oh man, I was just talking about Daggerfall earlier in Steve's Sketches stream. Anyway, so this is Gaius. Had to put on the adventure hat there. I've seen that particular bust before. Anyway, so Gaius's father was Germanicus. Again, Germanicus was this guy that had gone up into Germany and had put down this mutiny of troops and won some glory for himself. Well, it turns out that Gaius had actually gone with his father on some of these early military expeditions. And Gaius was a cute little kid. And because he wanted to be just like his dad, he... you realize you wore the adventure hat completely off camera, right? Yeah, I know. I was wearing it. I felt the hat. Yeah, I know. Nobody's throwing emotes anyways. I should throw some in here in the chat just for the fun of it. Boom. Adventure. Anyway, I'm going to be wearing this off and on pretty much all night. So, here's little Germanicus. Here's Germanicus running around fighting, and here's little Gaius. He's like 3 or 4 years old, and he's following his dad around on the battlefield, and he's talking to the soldiers, and he's like standing in ranks like he's a soldier. So some of the soldiers, they made him a little outfit, like a little Roman soldier outfit. So like this kid was decked out like a little Roman soldier. And how are we supposed to throw emotes when we don't know you're wearing it? That's a fair question. They ripped that from the movie Gladiator, didn't they? Yeah. The timeline there is perfect. So the one of the things that they made him were these little things. These are Roman soldier sandals, and they're called colligae, which is boot. So the soldiers started calling this kid Little Boots, which is Caligula. And you're like, oh man, I just had a moment where I felt a lot of empathy and kind of familiarity with flippin' Caligula. Yeah, you did. You did. You just had a moment where Caligula became a human. He's this great little kid that wants to be like his dad. Then his dad gets poisoned. His mom gets thrown in jail. His older brother gets thrown in jail. His grandfather kills his family. And then here's Caligula left with the throne. What you gonna do, Caligula? What you gonna do? Well, you might be a bit surprised. Because when Caligula took over, he was a really good emperor. For the first about 3 or 4 months of his reign, this guy does a lot of stuff. First off, he gets rid of Tiberius's will, which was sort of problematic for him. But it also did a lot of good because Tiberius was basically going to blow the rest of Rome's money. But he fixes the tax issue. There were a lot of issues with taxes because Tiberius was basically taxing the devil out of the provinces to live like an emperor. So Caligula is going to straighten that stuff out. He's also going to recall a whole bunch of the people that Tiberius had exiled, because Tiberius was exiling people like crazy, mostly because he was super paranoid and Sejanus was using it as a way to get rid of political rivals. He's also going to try to win the people back over to the Roman emperor's side. Tiberius had been very standoffish for the last, basically 20 years of his life. And a lot of the Roman people were becoming very detached from the rule of an emperor. So Caligula is going to have games, he's going to hold festivals, he's going to be seen in public a lot. And a lot of the people really seem to like him. But then he got really sick. Vern, you're killing me, Vern. You're killing me. Oh, just killing me. I'm sure the Gnafa is going to be quite good as well. Anyway. So, he gets sick. And he gets a really high fever. And they worry that he's going to die. But he pulls it out. He gets it back together, and he comes out the other side. But something happened. Something in that period of time changed him as an individual. And it might literally have been brain damage. He might have had such a bad temperature and a fever that it literally cooked his brain a bit. We don't really know what happened. There are tons of people that have tried to diagnose Caligula from the modern day looking back in time. Some people think that he might have been poisoned. Now they're ripping off Stephen King. I got better. Right. Yeah, it's just, history is ripping everybody off, man. You know that nothing is new under the sun. We've all heard that before. So, so when he comes out the other side, Caligula is weird. And his weirdness is really, really weird. And he starts the killing. He kills a whole bunch of his own family. He exiles a lot of his own family members. He starts killing people without trials. So just people will sort of randomly offend him, and he'll just have them killed. Not even bring charges against them, just kill them. He starts blowing literal tons of money. He had a fairly decent sized surplus because Tiberius was expecting to basically party for the rest of his life. Party all the time. Party all the time. Anyway, so there was this sort of surplus that Tiberius had built up by taxing the devil out of the provinces, and Caligula blew through that whole thing in a couple of years. He had this idea that he was going to build this enormous party boat. Technically, Tiberius succeeded. Yes, he kind of did. Real Queen of Hearts style trials. Yes, off with their head kind of stuff. So he just starts blowing all kinds of money. He decides that he's going to build all of this stuff. I'm going to build a new everything. And one of the things that he does is starts importing stuff. And this is going to be one of the first times that emperors are really going to go big on, I'm going to steal everything from everywhere else. Now, he's not the first emperor that did that. Augustus brought some stuff from different parts of the empire to Rome. But Caligula is going to be real bad about it. That looks really neat. People have told me that there are somebody go to Egypt and find me an obelisk. And if you've ever seen a picture of the Vatican, and specifically the Vatican Square, you will have probably seen this obelisk. So this is in the Vatican, in the Vatican Square, and this obelisk, which now has a cross on top of it, it was brought from Egypt by Caligula, and it was originally designed to be the centerpiece of this big new racetrack. When you built a racetrack, you had a partition that runs down the middle of your big oval, and you put cool stuff in the middle, and this obelisk was right in the middle of the racetrack. How does one say "hold my beer" in Latin? Teneat meus dolor. Yeah. Or no, I guess technically it would be teneas dolor meus. But it doesn't really matter. Latin word origins don't, or word arrangements don't technically matter. But there you go. So party like a rock star. Yes, pretty much. Jeff Bezos' party yacht, bigger than that. He has this enormous field flooded so that he can build this giant boat that ends up sinking. Cultural appropriation and repurposing. Dolores sounds painful. It does. So he's burning through money. He is building all of this stuff like crazy. He's killing people left and right. Why not declare yourself a god? So he goes, I'm a god. You have to worship me. Put that on the list, because Augustus was a god and Caesar was a god. So I'm in the line of gods. I'm a god. Just call me a god. That doesn't go over so great. A lot of people don't like that idea. The deification upon death was sort of a symbol of honor. By the way, that didn't immediately happen for Tiberius. They were like, is Tiberius the god? Let's think about that a little bit. He didn't have a big fancy funeral. They cremated his body and went to put it in the tomb of Augustus. They wanted to throw him in the river. There was actually a big riot. To show you how far away Tiberius had become from the people of Rome, when he died and word of his death got to the people in the city of Rome, they started yelling, to the Tiber with Tiberius, which was kind of an insult, because one of the things you did with criminals' bodies was you chopped their heads off and you threw their body in the Tiber. So there was a riot that was basically trying to take Tiberius's body and throw it into the Tiber River like he was a criminal. And I told myself that I wasn't going to tell you every single weird little thing that happened in this entire span of time. I do have myself an outline here that I'm supposed to be sticking to. I'm finding myself wanting to share all of the weird, tiny little details about everything. However, if I do that, we will never leave. River ordeal. Yes, give him to the river. Exactly. Sew him up in a bag with a chicken and a scorpion and a dog and a snake and throw him into the river. That, by the way, was the punishment for killing your father in Rome. Yep. Old Man River. Indeed. But also incredibly clever. Oh, dude, Vern, let me tell you, tangents for this period of time in Rome, oh my gosh. I could do almost endless tangents about this period of time in Rome. This is very much my comfort zone when it comes to historical detail. Old Man River with Sinatra as your favorite. I don't know if I've heard that version or not. I probably have, but anyway, Caligula also has really bad foreign policy. You might expect that from somebody that thinks that he's a god and went kind of crazy. He doesn't get along well with others. And one of the things that he tries to do is, well, I mean, he actually does it, but he doesn't do it well. He tries to add this region to the Roman Empire. Now, this was a kingdom that was independent called the Kingdom of Mauritania. And if we look at the map, because you all know I have a map, these two provinces are going to be what he's going to try to claim, right? We need to do something that puts me on the map for the military. I have to have military experience. Augustus had military experience. Tiberius had military experience. My dad had military experience. I've got to do something military. So he's going to invade Mauritania down here, and he's going to try to turn it into two different provinces. But it didn't go so well. It cost a lot of money. He's not a really good leader. He doesn't have a lot of good smarts. And people get real sick of him. Especially the random killings. That was really bad. Like I have to say, hey, randomly killing people is bad. Let me remind you that randomly killing people is bad. Hey, people, don't randomly kill other people because it's bad. But this was really, really bad. Rome had a very long and very clear system of laws, a very sort of storied and important function of the legal system. Yeah, he's like, I'm just going to kill some folks. I just feel like killing them. His own people want to throw him in the river, and strangely, he doesn't get along well with others, including having bad foreign policy. Yeah. I mean, it's Caligula, right? He's having all these big parties. There's weird stuff going on at all these parties that we won't get into the specifics of. However, I will say the movie Caligula that everybody knows is probably not super played up. That might be one of the more historically accurate movies of time. Anyway, Caligula is too much. He's just way too much. And he starts even building his own sort of kind of rival to the Praetorian Guard. So the Praetorian Guard, again, is the bodyguard of the emperor, but he doesn't trust them. They're up to stuff. So he has what he calls his Germanic Guard. And a lot of these are people that were the veterans of Germanicus, the people that saw him when he was running around in his little boots, right? You're about to go out to walk the dog, so should you kill someone on the walk? No, do not kill anybody on the walk. Do not follow the example of Caligula, the dude's cuckoo. When your biopic is a pornography show without being a parody. Yeah, unfortunate, but true. You think you've got it. As long as it's not a random person, it's okay. No, don't kill anyone at all, ever. Period. Anyway, so the Praetorian Guard is feeling like they're about to even get pushed out of the way. So the chief of the Praetorian Guard decides, we're going to kill him. And so they do. They kill him. The Praetorian Guard catches Caligula, and they kill him. But this is bad. This triggers just total chaos. Because his Germanic Guard are going to begin rioting. They start burning stuff. They start killing indiscriminately. In the middle of this, the Senate is like, wait, there's no emperor? Could we take back over right now? So there's this whole senatorial move to try to take everything back over. And the Praetorian Guard is like, okay, so who's going to be in charge now? And they have their person picked. And don't be a red ball. Murder. So who is the pick? Well, the pick is this guy. This guy is Claudius. Claudius was Caligula's uncle. So this was Germanicus's brother, Tiberius's nephew. So he is the uncle of the emperor. He was also pretty much the only family member of the line of Caesar and Augustus left. By the way, I wore the adventure hat because that's one of my photos. You can go see that bust of Claudius if you want to in Rome. So why was Claudius left? I should put him on the list. Well, I guess technically Caligula's dead. And Claudius is going to rule from 41 to 54. Why was Claudius left? Did you take it with you? Can neither confirm nor deny, but you can still go see it in Rome. I didn't take it with me, no. That would have been really hard to get out of the museum. I feel like they would have seen that if I was trying to tuck it under my arm and run. Also, hey Moose, what's up? So, how did Claudius make it out alive? Well, Claudius had some sort of neurological issue. And the historical sources are a little bit unclear about what exactly it was, but he didn't have very strong legs. Some people, some historians refer him as bandy-legged, so like he had kind of bow legs. Other historians say that his knees were really weak and they would sort of frequently give out on him. There are stories of like when he got excited, he would just start drooling a whole lot. He was sort of prone to having seizures. So Caligula didn't really think that this guy was much of a threat. He's like, oh yeah, that's crazy Uncle Claudius, that dude that gets, when you scare him, he sort of falls down and has a seizure and drools all over himself. We'll keep him around as the butt of a joke. He had Deadpool legs. Oh, yeah, kind of, sort of. Yeah, kind of, sort of. The fainting goat of emperors. Kind of. So, Caligula didn't kill him. Because, I mean, why kill that guy? You could bring him out to the parties and get people to laugh at him. You could use him as the butt of all of the jokes. You keep Uncle Claude around, and when you're feeling bad, you'll just sneak up on him and scare him and see if he falls over. But it turns out he's the Yamcha of emperors. Oh, poor Yamcha. He's not the Yamcha of emperors. It turns out he was faking a lot of it. He was faking a lot of it. And the Praetorian Guard knew he was faking a lot of it. Now, why would you do that to yourself? Why would you allow yourself to be perpetually humiliated like that? And the answer is, because you don't want to get murdered by your nephew who's the emperor and is crazy. So, the story goes that there's this giant, huge riot. So the Germanic Guard finds out that Caligula has been killed, and they go just bonkers in the city of Rome, and they're burning stuff and killing people. The Senate meets together. They are sort of enacting, covert Bravo Plan A to try to take back over the empire. But the Praetorian Guard go to find Claudius. And Claudius had managed to not only hide in the palace while all this crazy stuff is going on, but when the riot started, he had actually managed to get out of the palace and over to sort of a secret, non-disclosed location. And when one of the leaders of the Praetorian Guard found him, the story goes that he was hiding behind one of the curtains in the room. You're like, where's Claudius? And he's like, oh crap, they've come to kill me. I knew it, I was dead. I knew I was dead, so like they find him behind the curtain, and they're like, hey, we want you to be emperor. And he's like, say that again? They're like, yeah, you're the guy. You're the new emperor. And he's like, I'm skeptical. Can I confirm that you want me to be the princeps? And they're like, oh yeah, dude, you're totally the emperor. We had this planned all along. And he's like, well, okay, yeah, that's right. So apparently, as soon as he becomes emperor, a lot of these maladies go away. Now, he pretty clearly was not in perfect health, but a lot of the really bad external features of his illness seemed to disappear with Caligula. The dude was pretty clearly acting worse than it was. Because Claudius was a really smart guy. Now, if we go back to sort of look at Claudius as an individual, he had grown up under the rule of Augustus, and he had initially just wanted to be a historian. Like, he had wanted to write histories of Rome, and it actually had started writing a history of Rome that didn't get received very well because he was really honest about stuff. Especially honest about how particular people had been killed when Augustus took over. So he got very quietly told, like, you don't write that while Augustus is alive, you dumbo. You wait till he's dead and then you tell the truth. You don't tell the truth while he's still alive. So he was very scholarly. He spent a lot of time reading. He never really was a flashy kind of guy. He didn't really seek a lot of public face. He didn't really ever do a lot of big military stuff. He had a few times asked for and been allowed to take public office. And it seems like when he was in public office, he actually was really good at doing the job. Again, he's very well read. He's a very sort of erudite individual. And when he becomes emperor, he's going to bring that with him. He's going to say, okay, look, we've had 2 not so great emperors in a row. We need to break the combo here. And he is going to bring a very refreshing sort of approach to being emperor. He's going to bring back a lot of elections. He's going to restore a lot of the positions inside of the Roman operating system that had been ignored for a long time. Combo breaker. I'm glad somebody got that. Thanks, KP. He's going to be a very religious individual. He's really, really big on religion. He's going to bring back a lot of the religious positions that had sort of fallen by the wayside over the course of time. And he's going to start cracking down on a lot of people that he saw as practitioners of wrong religion. He bans Celtic Druidism. One of the things that was sort of on the horizon of the Roman world was this northern part of Europe up here and the island of Great Britain. And because of frequent Germanic activity and Gallic activity, there was a lot of Druidism that had sort of filtered its way down to Rome and had kind of become a vogue thing, right? It's this secret knowledge. You know, we all know how that works, right? You claim to be the ones that know all the answers, and then people like, oh, I'm on the. Are you inducted? I'm on the so and so society, and we all know how that goes. But the Druids, no, you got to get rid of the Druids. He heard tale that one of them had potentially tried to curse him, and he's like, all those Druids are gone. Get all the Druids out. He kicks them all out of Rome. Nobody can practice their religion. He basically bans Druidism across the Roman Empire. There's another situation where a couple of Jewish guys who basically were criminals, and I'm not saying that they were criminals because they were Jewish. They were criminals that just happened to be Jewish. They had been running this scam with wealthy Roman women, where they had sort of been conning a lot of people out of money, and Claudius was like, that's not even cool with your world. The Jewish people shouldn't be doing that, so I'm going to get rid of this conspiracy / pyramid marketing scheme right off the bat. So all of the Jewish people, you can't come into Rome. So he kicks all of the Jewish people out of Rome, and he starts like bringing back all of the good old-fashioned Romanism. Like, we're going to bring back all the deity stuff. He's actually going to preside over a lot of the festivals. He's going to be really big on bringing back good old-fashioned Romanism. He's big in the courts. He's actually going to sit as judge very frequently. He's going to restore a lot of the proper orders of the courts and who is in charge of the courts and bring back a lot of stuff. This guy is restoring the order of Rome. And it was really needed because, honestly, things had not been going so great for the past decade or so. He's also going to expand the empire. So if we go over here and look, he is going to invade Britain and create a Britannic province. He's going to finally conquer Mauritania. He's going to basically say, okay, look, this mess that Caligula started, I'm going to end it. So he does. He adds Noricum. He finally conquers Thrace. There's going to be some movement over here in Judea, which we'll talk about extensively in a stream later on when we also cover the Nabateans. But he's going to sort of bring the empire more or less contiguously together. Claudius was a good, smart guy. He was pretty together. except for one area. Claudius was really bad when it came to picking wives. He had a soft spot for the ladies. His first wife was very publicly in an affair, and he ended up divorcing her prior to becoming emperor. His second wife was apparently very fond of berating him and mentally abusing him, because potentially, it might have been because he was allowing Caligula to humiliate him all this time, but no, he was being the butt of all the jokes, and so he divorced that wife. The third wife was perhaps the worst. Hey, Fog Wolf, random Claudius history fact. Random Claudius history fact. Let's see. What's one that I wouldn't already have talked about? I want to throw something here that I didn't already have planned, and I just need to pick the right one. Okay, so here's one. One of the positions that Claudius brought back when he took over as Rome was the position of Haruspex. A Haruspex was a person who read the auspices. If you've heard the word auspicious, you'll know what auspices are. Basically, these are predictors of the future. And the position of Haruspex had not been filled for about 30 years. And one of the reasons why Claudius brought the position back, and he said that, if Tiberius and Caligula had accurate readings of the future done in the right Roman way, maybe they wouldn't have been so bad. So I'm going to bring this position back, and I'm going to listen to what the auguries tell me. And he actually credited some of his success to the fact that he was doing what the gods told him, and he knew what the gods were telling him what to do is because he was going and asking the gods questions in the right way of things. I came into a scolding wife a few short years ago. Oh, the great big C. So, the third wife of Claudius was, historically speaking, the worst. She had, at one point, basically told Claudius that he was worthless and hated his guts. And the historians, one of the historians, tells us the story where at one point she had gone to the public forum, the place where Roman business was conducted, and challenged a prostitute to a game to see who could sleep with the most men in one night. And that was a lot for Claudius to kind of handle, but he didn't divorce her. Like, he was trying to actually make this one work. But at one point, Claudius went to handle some business outside of Rome, and his third wife just decided, I'm going to marry somebody else. And she had a marriage ceremony where she married another guy. And this was a big bad deal because Claudius, being a very religious Roman, had a lot of problems breaking the particular marriage vow that he had made. There are different ways that you can get married in Rome, but one way was very important, and you weren't supposed to break this because it was made in front of the gods. And anyway, so she was running around on him quite literally, and then got married to another guy, and so he finally just had her killed and was like, no, done. No, go away. You're done. So he had her killed and the guy killed that she married. And then there was the fourth wife. And the fourth wife was a lady named Agrippina, who already had a son. And when Claudius marries Agrippina, she convinces him to basically not pick his own flesh and blood children as his heir, but to adopt her son and name him heir. And so he does. And then he dies in 54. And this brings us to Nero. And you're like, oh, wait, that's how this guy became emperor? Oh, yeah. Also, it brings us to There Goes My Nero, which is one of the better titles I think that I've come up with. They renamed him Heir. Heir. Like that. Anyway, so this is how Nero becomes emperor. And Nero was very young. He was 16 when he became emperor. I'm wearing a Green Lantern shirt. So, I don't know. You tell me. Is there an Easter egg there? Just the first shirt that I grabbed, perhaps. He was beloved of Nike. He was. And lots of other things. So, when he became emperor, he was very young. Again, he was 16. And his mom... Oh, I should show you Nero. I got to put on the adventure hat again. It's a flaming lantern. Now, what would that have anything to do? Ba-dum-dum-dum-dum-dum. Nero. Oh, Nero. So this is Nero. And every time, well, most times you see Nero, he has this awful neck beard. And he was apparently very proud of his neck beard. And he put his neck beard on, yeah, a mighty beard. Nero was a member of the Green Lantern Corps? Anyone smell something burning? Vern, you might be onto something there. No mustache, but also nothing on the chin. Just the neck beard. But this is the way that you see Nero when he's on his coins that he got to design, in the statues that he commissioned for himself. He's always got the really weird just neck beard. Good old Nero. Anyway, that particular bust is in the city of Bologna in their archaeological museum, which I would encourage you to go. A refined Maine, indeed. Bologna's archaeological museum is excellent. So when this guy takes over, again, he's young. For the first few years of his life, his mother, Agrippina, who is rather demanding, so demanding that she bullied Claudius into passing over his own family members for an adopted son, she's going to sort of run the show. Now, there is another Roman important guy named Seneca. You may have heard of him, the famous orator and writer Seneca, who is going to sort of be the political wiles behind Nero's early reign. And for those and you know those statues are done applying Photoshop on the emperor. Yes. Bologna is in Italy, not Basque country. Basque country is in Spain. So I'm saying Bologna, which is up here in the northern part of Italy. Whoop, where am I? It is right about here. Zooming in. There we go. North or Bologna. Very beautiful city. Not Parma. I didn't click on Parma. One of the best breakfasts I had in all of Italy. Right there in Bologna. Good times. Turn this stuff off. We don't need this. Anyway, so he doesn't like his mom taking all the power. And in some of his early coins, put on the hat like this. Because I was talking about a breakfast that I ate when I was in Bologna. I brought the hat with me. I don't know if I have pictures of myself. I have to look through my in-laws' pictures and my wife's pictures to see if I have pictures of myself from that Italy trip with the hat on. I don't know. Anyway, that was a really good breakfast, though. Such good selection of cold cuts. My bologna has a first name. It's Neroo, Nero. Anyway, I was trying to make that work, and there's just too many syllables. So, Mom and Seneca are running things for the early part of the period of time. One of the earliest coins of Nero actually has his mother on it. And she sort of used her position as regent to get herself on the money. And she also used her position as regent to kill a whole bunch of people, including most of Claudius's remaining relatives, because they weren't going to be claimants to the throne. He was going to be the guy. Nero was the guy. All of the other family members got to go. Anybody that speaks out against her gets gone too. She's going to promote her family and her lineage and her thing and yada, yada, yada. We all know how this goes. Mom's basically the power behind the throne. Seneca is the mouthpiece of the throne. But by the time Nero gets to about 20 or so, he gets sick of being told what to do. So he starts killing. He kills his mom because she's got to go, clearly, right? She's just, you got to kill the mom. So he kills his mom. He kills the remainder of his family, like his actual family. He kills his wife. Well, he kills his first wife. He's going to marry another wife later and then kill her too. Roman Emperor, when in doubt, kill. Effectively, unfortunately. He's going to get Seneca to kill himself. Now, he doesn't want to kill Seneca directly. He just goes, okay, you go kill yourself. So Seneca has to commit suicide. And then he decides, I can do whatever I want. I'm the emperor. So he starts styling himself as a god. He starts having these sort of these big ceremonies where he will read poetry and then demand everybody clap. He will do singing. He thinks that he's like, Rome's next idol, and declares that everybody's going to clap for him singing. He recites poetry. He's basically, I'm the guy. I'm going to do all of my things, and you do your thing. At one point, what's really funny, he commands his general, like one of the big generals of his army, this guy named Vespasian, who we'll talk about a little bit later on in a stream in a few weeks. He commands Vespasian to go to this appearance where Nero is going to sing and recite poetry and do play stuff, and Vespasian falls asleep. And so, as punishment, Vespasian is banned from the physical presence of the emperor. He literally cannot get within speaking distance of the emperor from that point forward because he fell asleep in the middle of his show. And Vespasian was too important to just kill outright. So, yeah, Nero gets really just super eccentric. After he kills his first wife, blood for the blood god, yeah. After he kills his first wife, he decides that he's sort of done with women for a while. So he has this big religious ceremony, big religious festival, multi-day festival. And in one of these religious festival days, he actually he marries a guy, a slave that had been freed. This guy's name was Pythagoras. And Nero dresses up like a woman and marries Pythagoras in a religious ceremony. That doesn't go over so great with a lot of the Roman people, so that he ends up having to sort of back away from that marriage. He does end up marrying a woman named Poppaea, but he did that mostly because he needed an heir. And the first kid that they had, Nero, Pythagoras, and Sin, a love triangle. Any relation? No, they weren't directly related. He did have a thing for his sister. Nero did. He kind of had a thing for his mom, too, but we don't know that for certain. Anyway, his second wife, his second female spouse, I'm going to have to I'm going to have to start delineating things here, was, had a miscarriage. And Nero was so upset that she had this miscarriage and was not going to give him an heir that basically right at the point of her... not Pythagoras, the mathematician. That guy lived centuries and centuries before. So he was so mad at his second female spouse that she had this miscarriage that he kicked her to death because she couldn't get up. She had just had this miscarriage. So he kicked her to death. And then apparently felt so bad about that that he went and found a young boy that somewhat resembled his recently deceased wife and had this boy castrated and turned into a girl and then married him. So this would be Nero's second male spouse. And tried to have marital relations with this castrated boy. He also decides that he's going to build a whole bunch of stuff, and he wants to build this big palace to himself with this big statue of himself. And he can't do that because Rome was a very old city and had a lot of buildings, so he started a fire that burned down a substantial portion of Rome. Now, he says, oh no, that wasn't me, I didn't do that, I didn't burn down Rome. It was the Christians that burned down Rome. And I wasn't even there. I wasn't even there when that stuff burned. I was over in my villa, and I was watching the sky, and I was playing my fiddle. That whole thing, Nero fiddled while Rome burned, that might not have actually been accurate. That might have just been something that sort of happened as a bit of lore over time. He's a liar. How did Nero keep from getting killed? Hold on to that for just a second. He knows that won't produce an heir, right? Correct. Unfortunately, yeah. Sorry for that kid. It looks like Nero wasn't particularly a cool guy. He must have lots of enemies. Yeah, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. Checks in the mail. Yeah, it was those Christians. And Nero didn't like the Christians very much. This is the first time that we'll actually have mentioned Christians in our stream. We'll talk about Christianity specifically in a couple of streams here on Thursdays. But yeah, Nero doesn't like the Christians very much. He's one of the first big organized persecutors of Christians. Very famously, he has several big night parties. Parties where you're at night, and instead of having big bonfires lit so that people can see, he dips Christians in tar and sets them on fire alive, and uses those to light his parties. Nero is a weird guy. And around this period of time, he also decided, you know what, I'm a god. I don't want to wait until I die. I want to be worshipped now. I want you to worship me like I am a living god. Please do so now. Ancient strobe lights. Oh. Hey, Junk. I didn't say hey. I'm sorry. Hey, Junk. How's it going, man? Welcome to the show. So, yeah. It's time to play the God card. I'm the God. I'm doing my thing. I'm God. Everybody worship me. So he commands that every temple that's in the Roman Empire have a statue of him put either in it or by it or right around it so that everybody knows who the real God is. Me. I walked away, and it sounded like you said that Nero had large corgis. No. And the Jews took exception to this. They did. They had a really big problem with putting a statue of Nero in their temple. And they found him rather revolting. Anyway. The Praetorian Guard has enough of Nero. And they decide, hey, we did it to Caligula. We can get rid of this guy. So the Praetorian Guard decide that they're going to kill Nero. And they come for him. And he knows that they're coming for him because they're not really making it a secret thing. They're sort of saying kind of out loud, hey, we're going to go kill the emperor, and it gets a lot of support. Like, yeah, okay. Yeah, you guys go do your thing. Go kill that guy. And he escapes. He gets away. There, by the way, had been several other attempts at killing him, several conspiracies that he had uncovered, and he had killed everybody involved. So the Praetorian Guard come out to get him. He escapes. He's got a little cluster of his close friends around him, and he gets out to this particular place, and he's like, I'm going to kill myself. And they're like, okay, is that really what you want to do? And he's like, yes, I want to kill myself. However, I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't want to go alone. So would one of you kill yourselves first and let me watch you, and then I'll kill myself? And his close friends are like, dude, you're the emperor. You can totally kill yourself. You can totally you've got this, man. Look, we'll give you the sword. You just kind of do the thing, and you're gonna be fine. You can totally kill yourself. And he's like, I just can't do it. I can't kill myself. So he has his personal secretary kill him with a wound to the side of the head and the neck. And that is the end of Nero. And that's also the end of the family of Caesar, the Julio-Claudian family. That's the last emperor that they will see on the throne. And what happens next is a really, really crazy year. And it's referred to as the year of 4 emperors. So you can just imagine how crazy that gets. But that's what we'll pick up on the next time we talk about Rome, which will be in a few weeks. I didn't sign up for this. I'm not making a suicide pact with Nero. That guy's wacko. All right, ladies and gents, that is going to wrap up what I have prepped for tonight. However, as always, if you have any questions or you want to talk about anything, not as crazy as a self-proclaimed God Emperor. What a cliffhanger. Yeah, I always try to end on the good parts where people are like, but I want to know what's next. When you talk about the reign of Nero and then say the next year was the crazy one. Yeah. 4 emperors, 1 year. It's like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, but it's 4 emperors enter, 1 emperor leaves. All right, so if anybody has any questions, if anybody has any channel points that they want to redeem, if anybody just has a comment or anything like that you want to share, now is the time, because I am officially wrapped up with what I had, and I only talked a little bit more than I thought I was going to do. Mildly lurking because homework sucks, but it has to get done. Taoist, I appreciate the fact that you would even think to have this on in the background. Nafa, Mahmoul, or Baklava. Vern, you're killing me, man. You're killing me. Baklava, if it's the right kind of baklava, is number 1 there. If it's I like the baklava that has the pistachios more than the baklava that has the almonds. And if it's the baklava where it's not just absolutely saturated. Like, so some baklava is really, really, really honey saturated, where it's very chewy. I prefer the lighter, flakier baklava. But if it's the baklava that I like, that's number one. And then ma'amul, because man, I am a sucker for dates. Now that should not mean that I don't like kanafe, and I do. I'm a guy that likes his sweets, but I have to rank them in order, and I will rank them in the inverse order that you delivered them. Baklava, the version that I like, baklava, ma'amul, and then kanafe. And I am jealous that you have many of these. What's in the news? Something uplifting, if I know anything. Let me posit what I could think about in the world that's uplifting. And I promise that's not me saying like there's nothing in the there's nothing at all uplifting. I mean, I guess I could say like right off the top, yeah, that's what I was going to go with. That there has been a ceasefire agreed to between the Israeli forces and Hamas that is hopefully going to bring an end to the conflict that's going on. I would love to say that I knew a whole bunch of other stuff that's really, really good. I don't know of anything that's particularly in the news. They did a cool study on T-Rex populations. I did see that, where there were a lot fewer T-Rexes than people actually thought about. I might direct you, though, to History in the News that I shared yesterday. There was a study done where some archaeologists had recovered some partially fossilized human poop that still had viable DNA in it. So they did a lot of DNA analysis on this ancient human poop. They found out that some of it was dog poop. So they had to disregard that particular sample. But what they did when they found the DNA stuff in the poop was look specifically for types of bacteria that lived in the poop, which would have been basically ancient people's gut biome. And there's a really great article that I posted in the Discord. If you want to go and give it a peruse, I can tell you that very basically what they discovered was that the process of urbanization had a very direct effect on what our microbiomes look like in our guts now and ancient people's biomes. That the overlap is basically non-existent. They had a whole different bunch of bacteria that lived in their guts than ours. Need to make a half dog, half human Jeff Goldblum. Get on it, science! Another uplifting thing, it looks like there is going to be some movement between the United States and Iran. We don't know exactly what this is going to look like, but it does appear that there has been some breakthrough with the United States re-engaging Iran in anti-nuclear proliferation talks. So that looks like it's going in the right way, and I hope that that manages to lessen the tension in a very tense area. So there's some good news. There's some good news for you. Wouldn't that be 1/3 dog, 1/3 human, 1/3 Jeff Goldblum? So you're saying that Jeff Goldblum's not a human? I don't know what I would say about that. Perhaps he's not. Perhaps he's not. All right. So, anybody else have any questions? Anybody want to redeem anything else? Anybody want to do any of the fun stuff that's in? By the way, for if you were not familiar, ooh, I've got the volume on here. I should say that. Remember that below your chat window, there is a little adventure hat icon, and you have been accumulating adventure points, and you can redeem those for lots of different things, and they're not all out of reach. Some of them are very, very cheap. I have to do Tide news reports in my class, so I've been trying to find all the fun news. It's been hard to find. Can I share the stuff? Yeah, Vern, go for it. I don't know what you're wanting to share, but you're always welcome to share stuff, either here in the chat or in the Discord or both. Oh, you posted it on Insta? Yeah, sure, go for it. I don't care. I have no problems with people sharing the links as long as you tell us what it is and as long as it's done properly. Don't post some sketchy stuff and then get us all in trouble for clicking on it. Awesome stream as always. I'm amazed how many things you know. Oh, Fogwolf. So here's the thing. I do have to do prep for these. Sometimes I have to do more prep than others. Sometimes my prep is me actually making sure that I know what I know. Other times it's sort of really surface level things like make sure that all my dates are correct. And sometimes it's like today where I have to sit down and pick what I am going to talk about. I could have turned this into a much, much longer stream. Like I said, this is sort of my happy zone when it comes to ancient history. So I could have talked a lot more about this one. All right. It's the good stuff you got from Astoria. You're going to make me jealous again. Homemade baklava. Oh, Vern. There's the ma'amul. Oh, that's the good stuff. See, it's flaky. It's not completely dense. Yes. Vern, I am jealous. I am jealous. All right. So let me see who we're going to go do the raid in. Where are we going to raid? Let's see who is alive and who is around. All right, so I've got to look at my list of raids here, all the places that we've been. You missed the dates from the UAE? I love dates. I am a big fan of dates. I really like ma'amul quite a bit. And I haven't had any in a long time. I've had baklava since the last time I've had ma'amul. Got a bail, find a good... Yeah, man, we're about to head that way ourselves. So we're going to go do a raid. Who are we going to go raid? Who is alive and who is we going to go raid? I think we're going to go raid Adventurin. Adventurin is a friend of the stream and has a channel where sometimes she talks about books, sometimes she does art. Tonight she's doing a chat on botany, so if you're a fan of botany, this will be right up your ivy-colored alley. So we're going to go head in that direction. I'll click the little button right here. The ma'amul was delish. They only had the date kind. Oh yeah, that's the kind that you want, right? That's the good stuff. That's the heavenly little, oh man, they're like little pockets of greatness. Almond flour. Anyway. Okay, so we're going to go raid Adventure Inn. Thank you all so very, very much for hanging out. I appreciate it. I do have to note that I am going to be out next week. My wife and I are going to take the first vacation that we've had in quite some time. However, I am planning on trying to do something very special and very different. I would like to try to do some on-site streaming where I am actually at a historical landmark or two and actually do some stuff. Keep your eyeball on the Discord. I'll be sharing more details there about times, but we will not be having stated meetings or groups or on Tuesday or Thursday next week. I will be out of the state. So thank you all very much for hanging out. Bring some love to Adventure Inn. Our battle cry, of course, is adventure, and you can share as many of those great adventure hats as you want. Otherwise, I will see everybody next time. Take it easy.